Yeah, when I was a young kid, well, look at a young kid, still young now, you know what I mean? But when I was very young, I lived down in a place called Middle Road in Acton, yeah? And I loved to fight. I loved to box. I loved to fight, and train. I just don't know what it was. It was bred in me from a very young age. And, days I used to go out to walk up the top of my road, and next to the school, there was a tennis court. And I used to run in the tennis court, around there, up and down and all that sort of thing. One day I was in there training, and the guy came up with my glasses, and he said, introduced himself to me as Georgie Whelan, and he was trying to talk about boxing. You could see he was a fighter by his face and everything. He said, "What are you doing?" I told him. He said, "Okay." He said, "Look, are you interested in boxing?" I said, "Well, yeah, there, I'd love it. He said, "Look, I run a gym called London Transport in Chiswick. Are you interested? And I'll pick you up and take you down there." I went, "Okay." It was a Thursday. So he took me down there, and, with this other guy, and I was sitting in the back, the back of the van. But anyway, got in there. There was a guy called Jock. He give out the gloves and all that. So I got in there, started training, on the bag, put his mitts on. George was showing me what to do, left jabs and all that came, and then he get carried away with right, and started hitting my thumb, bending my thumb back, hitting the bag wrong and splitting my little finger, the knuckle of my little finger because you're hitting it at the side, and it's a learning curve, yeah. And every time you go down, you're getting better and better and better. Sit ups, there's a lot of floor work he used to teach me as well. But there was about three heavyweights there. Uh, I remember there was a geezer with Jeff Tresham. He was a good boxer, Jeff. And at the heavyweight, Garth, but there's about three heavyweights in there. Garth was a black guy, hard as nails, could fight this geezer. Every time I see him in sparring, knocks the geezers out or knocks them over. Bit of a bully, not bully, but bit of a hard banger puncher, yeah. And I used to watch it, and one day George said, "Do you want to get in the ring with Garth?" And he's told Garth to take things easy on me. I went, "Yeah, okay." Got in there, and made myself look a fool. He could have knocked my spark out. You know what I mean? If he wanted to, yeah. But I was doing it for quite some time. George was taking me up the top of the road, running in the tennis court. The nets weren't there, and he used to do a Russian pole straight running, where I'd run to the end and walk back. Then he'd do my pulse, then set me off again. And it'd get weak, better and better and better, where I'd run up and come back, my pulse more or less be the same. I was getting fitter. And then I used to go around Gunsbury Park with him, run around the park. I was getting so fit, mate. Go down to London Transport. Never got back in the ring with him, really, the black guy, yeah. And George started taking me down to the Noble Art, Haverstock Hill. And every Sunday, go down there with my mate Farrell, spar with Billy Head, bug him a few times, Pat McCann, and I didn't spar with Pat McCann, but I was there, yeah. And Bobby Neal was his trainer. Bobby Neal liked me, wanted me to turn pro. I was, God, it wasn't that even that good as an amateur. But anyway, I was very strong, very powerful, and good and good in the gym, yeah. But Bobby Neal loved me, he wanted me bad, yeah. And so I used to go down on a Sunday and with George, and Saturday, yeah, Sunday. So then I started to go down to Beckett in the week. Get my way to the Edmund Castle, walk down there, get in the gym, train. And I just, don't know, I was doing it all the time. Then I go down to do weights twice a week, the gym maybe 3 times a week, and the rest running, yeah. But I still have my weights as well. But one day I was down Haverstock Hill, the Noble Art with George, yeah. And George says to me, right, these words, he said, "Ray, your whole body's changed. Your whole body's changed." And I looked at my body and I thought, yeah, it's changed, yeah. I had tummy muscles, I was all shoulders, and the neck. I used to do lots of neck exercises. I had about 19, 20 inch neck. And he said, "You're changing, your whole body's changing." I said, "I know." And then, me being down the Beckett, me being up Averstock or Noble Lot, I used to get in and spar all the time. So I was getting better and better and better. And when I was started to go back down to London Transport, you know, I looked the part, yeah. I looked, it was so easy for me because I've been training with pros. And the bag becomes easy for me, the pads become easy, the ball on a big stand, used to whack that about. Floor workout was very easy for me. And one day, George came up to me and said, "Do you want to get in with golf?" I went, yeah, I'd love to now, you know. And I got in with golf, and believe it or not, yeah, it was like easy for me, yeah. Big 16-ounce gloves, but it was easy for me. I was slipping the punches, hitting him in the belly, come over the top of the right hand. Everything sort of like worked proper. You know, I learned so much in the pro gym, you know, and it was so easy for me. And you know, and when it hit my chin, I'd ride it at my neck. Everything become easy for me, yeah. I started having fights. I started winning the fights. You know, I started knocking fighters over. I become pretty good, you know. And then, like an idiot, I mean, I started, and obviously I've lost a few fights, but fights I shouldn't have lost, you know. But that's what happens, you know. And fights that you won that no one thought you could win, you know. And you knock them spark out, you know what I mean? And people will get to realise who you are. And then, like a fool, I go to prison for a wine bar, shotgun, and all that, you know. So what happened before that? Before that, what happened? I was only young, working in the fruit market, Averstock Hill, the Noble Lot, go to the Wellington Highgate, met Georgie Francis, Bobby Neal, all these people, you know, and mate, it's just, you know, Mickey Duff, Jarvis Astaire, all them people you're meeting, yeah? And one day, you know, just out of the blue, he's come up to me, Mickey Duff. He said, "Are you interested in turning pro?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, of course." I went, "Okay, we come to see you." Give me mum's address. Georgie Francis was with him as well. I'm not quite sure Jarvis' son, there was three of them. But went to come to my house, like a fool. I was out with a young bird, testosterone, all the testosterone in my body. I was looking good, you know, and everybody loved me because I was a fighter. And I ruined it, and then when someone started doing silly armed robberies, getting nicked, and just losing my professional career, you know, and I thought to myself, what sort of idiot are you? You know, what sort of idiot are you? Because, you know, where could you have got to, you know? Because I was so dedicated. I was dedicated to a sport, you know, really dedicated to it, you know, like I lived it. I lived the boxing. I lived lifting weights. I lived running. You know, come home, you know, from the fruit market, gym, just all the time, running down the swimming pool. I was always doing some sort of exercise. You know, I never stopped, and I was like an idiot. You know, that's what you do. And I look at it now and I think, what a fool I am, man. What a fool I done to ruin my life by doing things like a robbery for 14 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, then the car phone warehouse, you know, 3 million and all them sort of things, you know, and you think to yourself, if you'd have stuck to your boxing, you'd have got that, and you'd have got something that you love to do, and that guts you, mate. When I look back now, you know, we was talking about it today, yeah? This is why I'm talking about it, yeah? I'm talking about it today, about that, going back to them days when I was fighting, yeah? When I was a young kid. Because I always fighting as a kid, and then become boxing, and, you know, having, you know, like you got that self-control, you know? You don't take liberties with nothing, you've got that thing, you know? Just don't take liberties, and I think it was just everything was perfect for me. I was gutted, you know what I mean? That I lost all that. Go to prison, come out a gangster, meeting people, doing things, getting plenty of money, buying a big house, buying properties, losing everything, confiscation orders, you know, and then I'm all right now. I'm all right. I've got everything I want now, yeah. But when I look around, all that could have been mine. Instead of belonging to someone else who's given me everything and put me in here, and everything's paid for, the rent's paid for by the social and all that, yeah. But I've got a good life. I've got a gym. I've got everything, yeah. But all this could have been mine. All this, what he's got, Terry, my mate, all that could have been mine anyway. I could have had more of that and more and lived in a different place. Marbella, you know, anywhere, you know, Portugal. You know, I had a place in Portugal myself, but leaving, you know what I mean? And you look back at it and I think to myself, God, I'm gutted, man. I'm gutted that I lost it all down to stupidity, you know, stupidity where you train every day. Every day of the week you're training. You don't ever stop. You wake up in the morning and that just gets hold of you where you've got to go to the gym, you've got to go to Beckett, you've got to go to Wellington, you've got to go to Noble Ark, you know, like just training all the time. It's bad. Anyway, bang, bang, roll. Nice one. Bye.